So they're essentially in the documentary. They essentially say that, or the I guess the overview of what they're talking about is that Roman gladiators were, and this is the key thing that most people miss out on, predominantly plant-based, mostly plant-based, and they're these like pillars of health in that, and fitness and whatever else, and so that's, you know, it shows that that's the diet that they would pick, and therefore it's the best diet.
So I mean, firstly, how are we defining mostly? So I think I said to one of you guys, like, meat and 2 veg is mostly veg. So
absolutely.
On that definition,
I mean, on any definition, most people would be mostly plant-based. If you're eating a whole foods, healthy, nutritious diet, we all 3 of us here are probably mostly plant-based. Because we're going to eat more vegetables and grains than we are going to eat meat in one plate. You have a plate of food, it's going to be 1/3 meat, 2/3 veg and grains, isn't it? Basically, so we would class ourselves as mostly plant-based, but yet we're not vegan. So I think that's the first point. I never have,
but from your definition there, definitely, I agree.
Yeah, and I think the thing in the film was that they did this study.
Like a bone study, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm going to be doing a lot of air quotes for study.
This is what the video
the video.
Just quickly, have you like, I haven't. I don't know if, I'm guessing out of all 3 of us, you're, Chris, the most likely to have looked at any of these studies.
I have looked at some of them.
I knew it. I absolutely knew it.
So when you look at that particular study, it's basically a flame that goes a different flame because the person has eaten
different things.
And what they compare that to is a carnivorous diet, so blood from carnivore. So basically it goes that colour because there's the presence of grains and vegetables, etc., and there's a particular chemical that they're looking for. If you do that with an omnivore, the same thing would happen. So basically, it's not showing, again, the study they do doesn't show that the gladiators didn't eat meat. No. It just shows that they were mostly plant-based, which makes sense because back in those days, they're gonna what availability are they gonna have for food? It's gonna be more grains. It's gonna be
they were slaves though, right?
Yeah.
So they would have probably been given whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, and you know, you also have to think in those days, unfortunately, human life was just, who cares? They didn't care about that. So then they're going to give them anything. They're not going to. They kind of made out that they were these pillars of health that people gave this great food to. Well, of course they probably didn't. They were slaves at the end of the day. That they didn't care if one person died from the next gladiator. So, exactly. What a film that is. So good. Anyway, we won't go on that train. But yeah. So I think they were just giving them whatever, and it's still, it doesn't. That film does not prove that they didn't eat meat. I think that's the key thing, is they probably were eating meat. It was just that they had more plant-based food in their diet. So yeah, it kind of shows that is a unvalid point, really, in terms of that they weren't, and that's why they say mostly.
It did, yeah.
It looks, and this is the thing, and this is the whole film revolves around that, doesn't it? It's that kind of shock factor of, oh wow, like, and it's kind of, but it's understanding the. It's understanding and behind it's understanding that how the study actually works, and whether you can then like transfer that across to other people, etc. You know, people will look at that study and go, "Wow, they were plant-based." Well, that's not what it shows.
Some people said that to me.
Because that's the way it's portrayed.
Of course it is,
and the fact they just slip in these words like mostly plant-based, thinking that people won't. A lot of people will just look at it as a spectacle, and they won't actually go, "Oh, hang on, mostly plant-based."
It's like the terms and conditions on your iTunes.
Totally.
Except the biggest lie told in the world is, "I have read these terms and conditions." Next,
and you slip it in, and it's like, well, actually, hang on, what do you mean mostly? Like, so you mean they didn't eat just plants? Oh no, but mostly though. But still, like, so I think that's the first. No, that point really is null and void, isn't it?